Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing Destiny 2. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and salutations. Today, it's the return of the Hallowed Lair. Let's get to it. Hallowed Lair is one of the Nightfall choices for the week, and if you're going for the score, you're going to want to do a couple of things. You're going to want to put a singe on it, depending on what your strategy is. If you're going to take out the boss with supers or power weapons or a combination of the two, you'll want to pick your singe based on that. Additionally, in order to maximize your score, you're going to put on Extinguish, Match Game, and Blackout. And depending on what your lowest player in your fire team, what their power level is, you're going to put a power handicap on the challenge card. So you're going to need a 5 of Swords card from Xur. You're going to need to set it up with a Singe, Extinguish, Match Game, Blackout, Power Handicap. Whatever your lowest level is, minus 550, or excuse me, 540, and that'll give you your power handicap. So if your lowest guy is sitting at 540, you're not going to have a power handicap. If you're sitting at 600, you're going to have a power handicap of 60. If you're at 590, it's going to be 50, etc. That's going to bring your power level down from whatever it is down to 540, which is the level of the Nightfall. This is important in order to get the score because it will make it that much easier, because your score multiplier will go from 2.95, which is the base for having a Singe plus Match Game, Extinguish, and Blackout, to over 5. So that is a huge difference in the score. So that will determine how easy it is in order to get that score. Now, unfortunately, that is based on your level. So if your level is lower, that's just the way it is. The closer you are to 600, the easier it will be to get the score. Now we chose Solar Singe handicap of 50, and then of course Match Game, Extinguish, and Blackout. Those are always good choices because those give the biggest boost to your score. Now, because we're running Blackout, there's no minimap, so you have to always know where the enemies are and where your teammates are at all times. Just so you don't have one fire team member off, either way ahead or really far behind, and also that you don't have enemies that are behind you that are flanking you, which will make it a lot easier for them to take you out since it is Blackout. So if they get right next to you, they can punch you and take you out. Now, because of Match Game, you're going to want to swap out different energy weapons. So each fire team member has each element. Have one with solar, one with arc, and one with void. That way, depending on what shield you are faced with, you always have a way of taking it out easily. Alternatively, you can have different supers. So maybe everyone doesn't have a high-powered energy weapon of different elements. You can always use your subclass as the third element, but it's not strongly recommended because you may end up needing your grenade or melee at some point along the way, which would make it much more difficult to have a grenade when you need it, especially if you have multiple enemies of the same shield type. So I recommend having each fire team member have one type different from everyone else. So if you have an arc, energy weapon, your other two should not. That'll make it a lot easier to take out shields, and once the shield is down, then everyone can damage the enemy. Now, because this is a Forsaken one, this is one of the more difficult Nightfalls. If for no other reason than for the sheer number of adds in it and the number of variety of shields. Because the chieftains can have any type of shield, and you will see all three at least in one point during the match. There are a couple of mini bosses. There's a wanted, as you'll see in any strike. Now, if you can take out the wanted enemy, that will give you a nice boost to your score, but it is not necessary, especially if you have 570 plus power level, where your handicap can be that much higher to boost your score. Now, this is a longer Nightfall as well, so not only do you have more enemies, but it will take longer to get through them as a result, so it will be difficult to maintain a score. In other words, you are more likely to lose part of your score towards the end because it will be difficult to hit that 15-minute mark, taking them all out. Now, when you're fighting the walker, don't have all three members of your team come up to the walker because of the ad spawns. There are a decent number of ad spawns in general, and there are a lot that come up as the walker is going down. So the important thing is to stay alive. If you wipe, of course, with Extinguish, you will go back to orbit. Now, do you have to have Extinguish, Match Game, and Blackout? No, you do not, especially if you are a higher power level. But it will make it a little bit more difficult, and your score won't be as high as it could have been if you did. So if you're sitting at all fire team members are 590 or above, and you're using a 50 power handicap, you don't have to use Extinguish, and you don't have to use Match Game, and you don't have to use Blackout. I do recommend 2 out of the 3, just to make the score a little bit easier. However, you don't have to. So if you really, really don't like Blackout, or you really don't like Match Game, then you can switch that out so that you can have your highest power weapons on, or you can have the mini map and know where the enemies are at, and they won't take you out in 1 or 2 hits with a melee. So if you're going for the maximum score, I recommend that you use Match Game and Extinguish and Blackout, because those give you a big boost to your score. If you are just trying to get 100,000 points and you're sitting at 590, 600, and you've been having trouble getting the score with those modifiers, then you can switch one out. You can use momentum, or you can use attrition, so that you're able to control your health regen a little bit. And it does add a little bit to your score. Now, there are several points that you could have an entire team wipe. If you are concerned about it, or if you are the last Guardian standing, you can always sit a little bit farther back than your teammates, in most of the Nightfall in order to maintain the integrity of the team. However, your DPS will go down unless you're using a scout rifle or sniper rifle where you can take guys out at a distance. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to ring the bell before you leave to be notified of all future episodes as soon as they go live. And thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time.
Guardian down. Guardian down.